Brother accused me of cheating with his girlfriend, despite never meeting her, and now I secretly doubt our lifelong bond. My brother and I have always been incredibly close, he's always been my best friend in the world. A few months ago, he started dating a new girl, and he seemed pretty smitten. None of us, our parents, me, or anyone else in the family, had ever met her, though. You know how it is, he wanted to keep things private in the early days, and I respected that. Then, completely out of the blue, I got this message from him. No lead up, no context, just this accusation, as if I had been with his girlfriend behind his back. I was stunned. It floored me. Not only have I never even met his girlfriend, I have never even been to her place. I couldn't wrap my head around where this was coming from. Right away, I texted him back, absolutely confused and demanding an explanation. He just told me, all good, continued to deny it. I honestly respect it. At that point, my confusion turned into something deeper, hurt, disbelief, and total bewilderment. I never thought my brother, my best friend, would believe something like this about me. I keep replaying his words and racking my brain for any possible reason why he'd think this. Is his girlfriend feeding him lies? Is he being manipulated? Did someone tell him something completely untrue? Now I'm just at a total loss for what to do. My first instinct is to talk to our parents, because I don't know how to make sense of any of this, or if confronting him again will only make things worse. All I know is that I feel like my whole world has been shaken, all because of a situation that doesn't even exist. Update 1. If you want to completely put an end to this so there's no speculation around what I may have seen or misinterpreted and completely prove me wrong, then instead of showing me texts that can be deleted, show me the texts as they appear on your phone bill, where those can't be deleted. After I said that to my brother, I took it upon myself to dig deeper. I'm on a prepaid plan with Mint, so I called their customer service to see what could be done. The answer was disappointing. They told me there's no ability to share or display individual text exchanges in detail. There wasn't any record like I'd hoped for, nothing that would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt what those exchanges really looked like. When I explained this to my brother, he went completely silent. I got nothing, not even a half-hearted denial. Calls went straight to voicemail. I felt the weight of that silence settle on my chest. Something wasn't right, and I could sense it in every ignored call. At this point, I couldn't ignore the gut feeling any longer. I brought our immediate family into the loop, our parents and 2 sisters. I laid out everything, my concerns, my failed attempts to reach him, the unresolved suspicions, and their worry matched my own. Now, my mom and I are about to head out and do a welfare check on him ourselves. I have never felt this anxious. Every unanswered call amplifies my dread, and I keep replaying my last conversation with him, wondering if I missed something, some clue to what's happening now. Update 2. I've seen a lot of people wonder if drugs or mental health issues might be involved. Given my brother's history, I get it. He's had a rough past with alcoholism, DUIs, stays in rehab, AA meetings, the works. But lately, he's kept everything under control. As far as I know, there haven't been any issues with drugs, and nothing jumps out at me about his mental health. We've always been really close. I know some people have brought up the possibility of paranoia or maybe even schizophrenia, saying that those can sometimes get triggered by drug use, but here's where I get stuck: the timing. When he texted me, and then later, when Mom and I verified he was actually at work, there was only a 2.5-hour window. His place is about 20 minutes from his office. He has a white-collar job at a big Fortune 500 company. It seems unlikely he'd take something, spiral into a paranoid or altered state, and then somehow gather himself to drive 20 minutes to work and show up like nothing's wrong, unless he's way more high-functioning in that kind of state than I ever realized. Maybe I'm missing something. Some people have been skeptical, saying maybe this is all my imagination or that I'm exaggerating. Honestly, I have nothing to gain by making any of this up. If I'm wrong, there's no upside. But if this is real, the stakes couldn't be higher. If I can figure out what's going on, maybe I have a chance, not just to fix things between us and hold our family together, but to be there for my brother when he truly needs me. If any of this were just a scheme on my part, I wouldn't have brought our parents into it. Why bother involving them if I was trying to sneak around? It would be easier just to deny it all if he confronted me later. He still hasn't answered my calls or returned any of my messages. The one small connection I know of is that he texted Mom, "Everything is fine, don't be worried. I'll call you after work." That's it. I've started reaching out to a few mutual friends to see if they've picked up on any changes in him or noticed anything out of the ordinary. Even the smallest clue could help me figure out what's really going on. Update 3. There's been a lot of speculation about whether it's possible that I could have been sleeping with her without realizing it. That's just not possible. I know exactly what she looks like because my friend showed me pictures. I even know her name, though I'm well aware that people can lie about names. Still, if I ever ran into her, I would definitely recognize her face. Someone brought up an interesting possibility. I've been seeing a new girl myself, and my friend has my location. So maybe it's theoretically possible that both women live in the same apartment complex, and he might have seen my location and assumed I was staying with his girlfriend? That's only if his girlfriend even lives in an apartment, which I'm not entirely sure about. Honestly, I think it's a long shot. We live in a medium-sized city with a population over 500,000. The odds of the two women living in the same complex are slim, but I guess anything's possible. Update 4. He talked to mom yesterday and insisted everything was fine, but he was 100% not making it up. He swore he would never make false accusations. Then he told her he first noticed I was texting his girlfriend way back in November. The last time he saw anything suspicious, he said, was on New Year's Eve when we were all hanging out together, which I imagine started this whole spiral for him. The truth is, I texted 4 different people on New Year's Eve, all of whom are saved in my phone under their full names. One of them does have a girl's name that slightly resembles his girlfriend's, same number of letters, same vowels in the same places, but it's definitely not his girlfriend. I remember texting this girl back in November too, so I guess maybe that's where his suspicions first surfaced? Still, that doesn't explain why he'd think I was ever at her place, or why he didn't just confront me about it right away if he thought something was up. I've reached out to a few of our mutual friends, just trying to piece all of this together. The friend who was with us on New Year's Eve mentioned that she noticed he was acting strange that night. Things got even weirder when she told me he texted her at 5:30 in the morning earlier this week saying, "We need to talk, I have a lot of stuff to update you on." She said that was totally out of character for him. When she tried to respond and called him back, she couldn't get through. Her text just went unanswered. This happened the day before he sent me that accusatory text. Even now, she still hasn't managed to talk to him and has no idea what that message was supposed to mean. Another mutual friend talked to him on the phone not long before New Year's. He told me my brother sounded fine for the most part, but did mention he was struggling financially, although he wouldn't say any more about it. I've never heard him complain about money before. Neither have our mom and dad, he's never asked them for help or even brought it up. A third friend said he hung out with my brother just this past weekend and everything seemed normal, nothing off or unusual. This friend is just staying neutral, trying not to take sides. He doesn't think there's anything medically wrong, and just believes we need to work things out ourselves. No one else in the family has been able to get a hold of him since yesterday. He's turned off location sharing with everyone, and whenever mom calls, it goes straight to voicemail. Now it's starting to affect our mom just as much as it's affecting me. We've always been a close family, the kind that doesn't have drama, not used to this at all. As we're piecing things together, it's starting to feel like this could be about drugs or some sort of mental episode, especially after hearing from the friend about his sudden money worries. Now my whole family is left with the same overwhelming question: how do we even start to get him help if he really needs it? Update 5. As of this morning, my brother is acting completely normally with the rest of our family. My family believes me when I explain what's been happening, but they keep saying he's just confused and that all of this will eventually blow over. Basically, no one is taking it as seriously as I am. It feels like whatever is going on with him isn't affecting anyone else the way it's affecting me. My mom was pretty upset the very first day, but now she seems to be getting over it and moving on. Everyone insists that we just need to give him some time and that he'll get over whatever this is. I talked again to our mutual friend, the one from New Year's Eve, and she's firmly on my side. She promised to help me get to the bottom of this, but at this point, there's not much more I can do. After some digging, I finally managed to find his girlfriend on Facebook. Now, I'm trying to convince my mom to reach out to her, just to see if she's okay, but I doubt she'll actually do it. Mom will probably say something like, "Oh, I'm sure she's fine, let's just give them time and space." I'm also going to try and convince my dad to change the code to the alarm system on the house, since my brother knows it. Just for now, just to be safe. I don't have much hope that my dad will go along with that, though. I am fully convinced that something is terribly wrong here, whether it's drugs or a mental health issue, I don't know, but it's something serious. Meanwhile, everyone else in my family keeps telling me to just give it time and seems uninterested in figuring out what's really happening. Right now, it feels like I'm at a complete impasse. It's been about 55 hours since that first text, still no contact from my brother. My plan is to wait about 5 or 6 more days, then try to reach out again. Update 6. Both of my sisters unfortunately still think nothing is wrong. One of them even told me, "I don't know what's true and what is false." My mom and dad have been talking to them as well, but I'm not sure what those conversations entail. We've also reached out to other family members and friends, my aunt, grandparents, and even my sister's in-laws, since my parents are really close to them. My mom messaged the girl on Facebook, explaining just how worried she is, not just for the girl, but for my brother too. As of now, there's been no response from her. Tonight, my dad changed the alarm code to the house. Tomorrow, he plans on changing the locks entirely. The recent events keep making me think of Rob Reiner from a few weeks ago. Switching up the security feels like the right next step, just to be safe. The thing that really gets me is how normal my brother acts around everyone, unless he's directly confronted. Then, he completely shuts down. For instance, my dad texted him earlier, just a casual, "How are you doing?" Instant response, "I'm good." But when my dad followed up immediately with, "Tell me what's going on between us. Talk to me. I'm here for you," there was nothing. Total silence. It's been the same kind of pattern with my mom. At least I managed to get through to my parents. My sisters are still my next challenge. I recently found out there's a mental health tip hotline in my city specifically designed for situations like this. If neither of my parents hear from my brother by Monday, I'll be calling that hotline myself. Like some people have pointed out, he hasn't shown any violent tendencies yet, so I'm not sure how much the hotline can really do, but at this point, I need to try everything. Just to be clear for anyone wondering, there is zero possibility I've ever hooked up with his girlfriend. I've always known what she looks like, he's shown me pictures, and I am 100% certain I would recognize her if I ever met her in person. Yes, I've tried calling him directly, all of my calls go straight to voicemail. I've even told him before how my girlfriend's name looks almost identical to his girlfriend's, hoping it would clear up any confusion. He didn't reply to that either. Besides the mental health hotline, I honestly feel like there's not much more I can do right now. Update 7. The past week or so has been one of the worst stretches of my life, and I just can't believe how everything's played out. First, let me be clear on one thing, I didn't hook up with her. Not in any universe. He's shown me pictures of her, and I would know her if I saw her in person. I've been loyal to my girlfriend since early November, no other hookups, no crossed wires. When things first started unraveling, my parents were quick to jump in. My mom even reached out to the girl on Facebook. She read the message but just left my mom on read, without ever replying. That stung, even though it wasn't unexpected. My parents, worried that things might escalate further, replaced the locks on the doors and changed the alarm code. He had access to both. Everyone I talked to about this situation seems to lean toward his side or just stay totally neutral. My two sisters, for example, are straddling the fence, taking no one's side. The only people actually taking my distress seriously are my parents. But my friends? Either staying out of it or gently suggesting that maybe there's more to the story than I'm saying. It really feels like I'm going crazy here or that they think I'm being dramatic. Some context on my relationship with him. We're not blood brothers, but we're as close as anyone could possibly be. He lived with us all through high school. He calls my parents mom and dad and treats my family as his. I'm close with his biological family, too, even if things are complicated, since he's not close to his own parents. Last week, I reached out to a few mutual friends hoping for clarity. For example, his cousin is practically like family to me. His biological brother and I are close. I even tried talking to his sister, though she's not local and I'm not as close to her. My mom ended up speaking to her, and she revealed that he's having some financial issues right now. That was news to me, but it still doesn't explain why he's making wild accusations. To make everything absolutely clear, I started compiling all my texts with everyone involved. When I look at those conversations, my back and forth with him, his cousin, his brother, even another mutual friend, they all blend into this massive spiral of confusion. My attempts to explain myself, to find some clarity, are met with blank neutrality or, even worse, with the sense that everyone thinks I'm the one in the wrong. As ridiculous as it sounds, clearing my name feels basically impossible. I can't prove a negative, even though I've submitted a request for my call records to prove I never messaged her. It's not likely to change anyone's mind. 35 days until they arrive, and the damage is already done. My parents, who have always been his second family, are devastated. My dad feels like he failed him, like he wasn't enough of a role model to keep this from happening. That hit me so hard, to see the toll it's taken on the people I love most. We've never, in all these years, gone this long without talking. I'm sick to my stomach with anxiety, sadness, and this crushing sense of being alone. My brother claims he first saw messages on my phone from her back in November. Then he says it happened again on New Year's Eve. But on New Year's I only texted 4 people, and our family group chat. What could he have possibly seen? Did he completely mistake a name? Or did he hallucinate the whole thing? I reached out to our mutual friend, who was usually good at cutting through drama, hoping for backup or at least some perspective. He mostly seemed to side with my brother and told me that our relationship was probably permanently ruined. That's when I knew something was really wrong. If this was just a misunderstanding, or if my brother was thinking rationally, would there be anything in the world that could make him cut me and my family out this completely? He accused me out of the blue, something utterly out of character, something I would never in a million years do. I started asking around, has anyone else seen him act strangely? Is he more paranoid than usual? His brother says he's changed lately, but no one wants to come right out and say it. My mom tried asking him gently what made him think I'd done this. He said he first noticed messages last November, meaning he's been stewing on this for months, letting it fester. Why would anyone who loved you not just come to you and talk it out, unless something deeper is going on? All his accusations, his refusal to speak to me, even his own family treating this like I might have done something, none of it makes any sense unless something is seriously wrong. I fear our relationship is ruined forever. The thought of that is eating me alive. This is hands down the worst start to the year I can imagine. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel totally alone, and honestly, I'm desperate for any advice that could help me get through this. Update 8. Last night blew the floor out from under everything I thought I understood about what's going on. My mom finally got a message back from the girlfriend. It was short, weirdly formal, and cold. She said she didn't want to be involved in family drama, that everything my brother said was true, and that she hoped we'd respect her privacy. Then, this is the part that made my stomach drop, she asked if my mom could sell her for moving expenses because the situation had made her unsafe in her current apartment. She wouldn't call. She wouldn't FaceTime. She wouldn't even send a voice note because she said she lost her voice. She did, however, send a Cash App link right away. When my mom called her out, said she'd never send money to someone she hadn't even spoken to, she left the message on read, again. I didn't sleep. At around 2 a.m., I started reverse image searching the photos from her Facebook. The third photo, her by a brick wall in a denim jacket, popped up on an Instagram account for a woman in Toronto with 20,000 followers. Same smile. Same jacket. Same brick wall. A second photo matched a Pinterest pin from 2019. Another one was on a modeling page. Every single image that girlfriend had shared was lifted from somewhere else. I sent everything to my dad and asked him to come with me in the morning. We drove to my brother's office and waited in the lobby. He came down for coffee and saw us, and his face just locked. He turned back for the elevator, and I followed him to the parking garage, not yelling, just walking. He got into his car and sat there gripping the wheel. I stood outside his door and said his name, once. He finally unlocked it and we sat in the back seat together like two kids hiding from a parent. They'd disappointed. He kept saying he didn't want to talk in front of Dad. I told him Dad was upstairs to give us space. He looked wrecked, unshaven, gray under his eyes, the kind of tired that lives in your shoulders. He said, I know what I saw, but the way he said it was already softer. I asked him to show me. If he had proof, show me. He pulled out his phone and scrolled forever. What he had were screenshots. Not of my texts, not of my number, screenshots sent to him by her. An Instagram DM from an account using my name with an underscore tacked on the end and my profile photo from 2 years ago. A Telegram chat with me asking for an address. A blurry still from a hallway camera of a guy in a baseball cap seen from the side, apparently me, outside her door, timestamped 11:53 p.m. on New Year's. I pointed at the handle. I pointed at the tiny differences in the font. The time zone mismatch on the DM. The fact that the hallway photo had a watermark for a stock security camera company. He kept swallowing and blinking and saying, but she sent it, she wouldn't lie. When I showed him the reverse image searches, opened them on my phone and put the real account side by side with the girlfriend, he cracked. Not all the way at once. He started with, that's not her main, that must be old, then, she said people steal her pictures, and then nothing, just his head dropping forward and his hands over his face. He said he's been sending her money since November. First it was Uber rides and groceries. Then a phone bill. Then rent because her roommate bailed. When the bank flagged his Zelles, she asked for gift cards and Cash App. He took a cash advance just to get through December. He borrowed off his 401k, planning to pay it back with his bonus. His money problems were all because of this. He told me he'd been hiding it because he was ashamed and because she made him feel like if anyone found out, they'd ruin it on purpose. And the part about me? She's the one who told him I was messaging her. She sent those accounts. She told him she'd seen me around her building. She said my girlfriend had confronted her, that I had begged her to keep it secret, layer upon layer of specifics. It got into my head, he said. I couldn't stop replaying it. On New Year's she sent me that hallway thing and said you were back again. You were right there at midnight with everyone, and I still thought you had somehow left. He kept saying he felt insane. That everything lined up because he was forcing it to line up. He apologized. Not in a neat little speech. He couldn't even look at me for longer than a second at a time. He said he read my texts and chose not to believe me because believing me meant confronting the alternative, that none of it was real and that he'd been conned and that his girlfriend didn't exist outside a stolen set of photos and a handful of anonymous accounts. He said he sent the text to our friend at 5:30 a.m. because she had messaged him in the middle of the night saying I was at her apartment again and he needed to handle it. He drove around for an hour and then went to work like he was fine. We brought him home. He showed everything to my parents, the same screenshots, the Zelle history, the Cash App receipts, the gift card numbers in his notes. When my dad asked for the girlfriend's number, there wasn't a phone number, just half a dozen handles and one text now line that went straight to a subscriber unavailable message. While we were sitting at the kitchen table, another message came in from a brand new Instagram account with the same stolen face, saying she'd explain everything if he just sent one more transfer because her account got hacked. He watched my mom block it. He didn't argue. He called his bank. He called his HR. He told them he'd been scammed. He cried once, 3 short, hard breaths, and then he steadied himself like he was mad at the fact that he even let a tear out. He told me he'll pay me back for the apology I never asked for by making this right. He told my dad he needs help, like real help, not just I'll be better. He asked if he could sleep at the house for a few nights because he hasn't been sleeping in his own place. We set him up in the guest room like we used to when he was in high school and just needed a safe place to land, and then he crashed. I'm not pretending everything's fixed. He hasn't explained why it felt easier to believe an underscore handle than his own brother. He hasn't explained the twist of pride that let him accuse me so cleanly. But there's a reason now. A shape to the hole. I can feel something in my chest unclenching even as the anger and hurt are still there. This morning, he sent me a text while I was in the living room. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I don't know how to live with how wrong I was, but I'm going to try. Then he asked if I could go with him to file a report. He wants to start making calls, talking to someone about the obsessive way he latched onto this. Money, trust, all of it. We don't know how much he's lost yet. He gave my parents a number and then added, I think it's more. The Facebook account went dark an hour after we blocked her everywhere. A new one popped up immediately with the same photos and a different name. He watched that happen, too. I think that's the only thing that convinced him all the way, seeing how fast the face he loved was just a costume someone else could throw on. For the first time in weeks, he's in the next room instead of just a silence on the other end of my phone. It's not a happy ending, and it's not an ending at all, but it's something real to hold in my hands. He asked me to come with him to his first appointment. I said yes. I don't have it in me to say anything else yet. I think that's okay for today. Update 9. We filed the report this morning. There's a fluorescent hum in our town station that makes everything feel flatter, like someone turned the saturation down on the day. The officer at the front desk listened without a weird look, which somehow made me want to cry more than if he'd rolled his eyes. He took my brother's phone, scrolled through the fake DMs, the text now number, the hallway still with that stock watermark. He said, "You're not the first," in this dead-even voice, and gave us a case number and a printout for the IC3 site. He told us to keep every handle, every screenshot, not to reply to anything. Don't bargain with ghosts, he said, and that phrase won't leave me. The bank was next. They were polite in that way that means they've said these words 100 times. Zelle and Cash App transfers are final. Gift cards are like cash, but they open fraud cases anyway because of the text now line and the way the account spun up and vanished. He sat there admitting out loud, I sent it, while a woman with a Navy nameplate typed and nodded. When she asked if he had shared any documents, I watched color leave his face like a tide. He pulled up the chat and there it was, a photo he'd taken of his driver's license, front and back, a blurred PDF of his last 2 pay stubs, a selfie holding the license next to his face. For the lease application, she'd said in late December. They flagged his account, put alerts on everything, and gave him a number for their fraud team. He handed his wallet to my dad and said, just hold this, like his cards might jump out on their own if he didn't. HR after that. He told them the truth in a room with a glass wall and a fake ficus, and I sat outside pretending to read a poster about 401k vesting. He came out with a little stack of papers and eyes that had that watery brightness you get when you've just been brave in public. They set him up with the EAP, first appointment this afternoon, and explained the terms of the 401k loan, without even a hint of shame in their voices. They offered to let him space out repayment. He clutched that kindness like a rope. Back at the house, we did the tedious, protective stuff. He changed his phone number. We added a port-out PIN to his carrier. We froze his credit and, when Equifax asked him to pick questions from old addresses, he looked at me and said, you remember when I lived on Birch? Like he needed me to say yes for the password to count. My dad made copies of the police report and tucked them into a folder with his neat block handwriting on the tab. My mom sat with a legal pad and wrote down every handle, every amount he could remember. He totaled what he knew and then he looked up and said, it's more, I just don't know where yet. The number on the paper was already 5 figures. I DM'd the woman from Toronto whose face had been borrowed. I told her I was sorry to bring more of this to her inbox, but that her photos were being used. She replied in 15 minutes with this very human, exhausted kindness. She said it happens all the time. She sent me a canned paragraph she keeps in her notes that explains how to file takedowns and what links to attach. I'm sorry your family is going through this, she wrote at the end. I sent it all to my brother and watched him read it twice and then stare out the window like the dumbest. Version of Hope had just tapped him on the shoulder. We went to the therapist together. The waiting room had a carpet with little loops you could trace with your eyes. He asked me to come in for the first 10 minutes. He did the apology again, not to me this time, but about me, to someone whose job it is to hold it and not flinch. I left when the therapist asked if she could speak to him alone. When he came out, he looked emptied out in a clean way. He didn't say what they talked about, and I didn't ask. On the drive back, he said, she asked me when the story stopped being about her and started being about me punishing myself, and then he swallowed hard and stared at the windshield like it had the answer. The girlfriend tried again even with the number changed. New Instagram account, same face, different name, same script. You're letting them control you, she typed, and then, if you ever loved me, prove it. A few minutes later, a text to my phone, not his, with a local area code, he's lying to you. Ask him about November 14th. I showed him and expected the panic, but he just said, block it, and I did. We forwarded everything to the case file email. 2 hours after that, my dad's phone rang with a voicemail that was 24 seconds of breathing. We changed nothing and went back to what we were doing. It felt like doing a push-up for the first time in months and not collapsing. My sister came over and cried on our kitchen floor, the kind of crying that comes from being wrong about someone you love. She apologized to me first, then she went to the guest room and sat on the edge of his bed and held his hand like she used to when he'd come home drunk and ashamed years ago. He said, I almost hurt us, which is not how I would have put it, but I knew exactly what he meant. Later, our mutual friend, the one who had told me our relationship was probably done, texted me a screenshot from last week. An account with the same stolen photos had messaged him too, said I was dangerous, asked for help with a lift because he was outside again. He didn't send money, but he stopped replying to me after that because he didn't know what was real. He apologized, and I believed him. It turns out the net was wider than just my brother. We had one stupidly normal moment that I'm going to keep in my pocket. He walked into the living room after dinner, saw a college game on, and dropped onto the couch next to me without asking if that was okay. He said, "You think they'll cover the spread?" And I said, "You don't even know what the spread is," and he smiled in this sideways way he hasn't smiled in months. We watched the second half, both of us staring too hard at guys in jerseys we don't actually care about, and for 10 minutes there wasn't a scammer in the world big enough to fit into the room. He took his keys off his ring and left the spare to my apartment on the counter. He said, "It feels weird to hold on to anything of yours right now," and I said, "We'll swap them back when we're okay," and he nodded like that promise was as real as any document we filled out today. Before he went to bed, he handed me his phone and asked me to delete Telegram, Text Now, and the throwaway Instagram accounts he'd made to keep up with her when she lost access. While I was doing that, a brand new profile popped up in his requests with the same face again, this time with a hospital wristband in the first photo and a caption about surgery complications. The username was a different name, same cadence. The only thing that changed was the costume. I blocked it, took a screenshot for the folder, and put the phone face down on the nightstand. He watched me do it and didn't reach for it even once. He asked if I would come with him tomorrow to the bank manager's appointment and then to the second session with the therapist. I said yes. He smiled without showing his teeth and said, "Okay," like that was enough.